Good morning and welcome to Scientific Humanity. And I'm here today with Dr. Dana Reece from CIHS, which is the California Institute of Human Science. And my name is Dr. Kim Byrd-Rider. I'm a physical therapist and a psychologist. And we've got some really interesting things to talk to Miss Dana about, Dr. Dana. And she is also the Director of Integral Health Joint Masters at CIHS. You can go there.org. And we were just talking, and Joint Masters means it's a joint masters program that she's been putting together. So we wanted to really hear about this. So Dana, tell us a little bit about the joint masters. What are the two masters that are coming together, master's degrees?
Thank you, Kim. It's actually one master's degree, and what we're doing is we're two institutions. So we're the Soul of Yoga, which is one of the largest, probably the largest yoga studio in San Diego Metro, and the only yoga studio that is able to teach the or organize the IAYT yoga therapy program. So that's a formidable program in its own right that requires that you are already a yoga teacher and have some experience and also at least your 200-hour certification. And then we're combining that, which is very, very physical oriented, yoga oriented, but also has a lot of intellectual knowledge as well, Ayurveda, physiology, with a master's program. And ironically, they have very similar requirements, regulations, and the same number of hours, almost the same number of hours. So it'll be a yoga therapy program combined with a master's program so that you'll have a master's degree in integral health, as well as becoming a certified yoga therapist.
Oh, great. So you'll have a degree, because the biggest problem I'm in physical therapy, so I'm in the hospitals. I work with a lot of the physicians and nurses, and they're really hesitant to refer to even the IAYT.
Right.
Those letters mean nothing to them because they're so degree oriented that if you don't have a health degree, it's irrelevant to them. So what you're saying is they'll have a master's degree, they'll have academic letters behind their name. Now, so are the IAYT, so IAYT stands for International Association of Yoga Therapists.
Right.
And that's like a bump up from yoga teachers, because they teach more therapeutically, or how are they teaching that program?
It's actually a huge differentiation. And there was a time when you could call yourself a yoga therapist just by virtue of saying, well, I'm doing therapy work on you. And that time is over. To call yourself a yoga therapist, you have to have those 500 hours of training minimally. You also have to be trained, not just like to become a basic yoga teacher, you spend 200 hours. You learn some anatomy and physiology, some positioning, some posturing, you learn some basics. But in this program, you're doing 800 hours of intensive learning around anatomy and physiology, the entire body, the body of energy, Ayurveda, different qualities and difficulties you can have, for example, cancer and how it relates to the heart, just all sorts of different physical, it's just much more in depth than just teaching yoga, because you are working on people's bodies and bodies of energy.
So now when a yoga teacher goes, because you obviously have to have a yoga certification before you go to the IAYT program. So who's teaching it? Like a typical IAYT, not this program. This program sounds like you're integrating the anatomy physiology, because I'm teaching the anatomy physiology for CIHS, and that's why it intrigues me who's teaching anatomy physiology for IAYT. And then it sounds like your program, you're doing more of a collegiate anatomy physiology with a professor a faculty member, as opposed to what is IAYT typically using at this point?
Well, it's actually, in our case, it's going to be a combination. For example, the IAYT program already has our anatomy and physiology piece in place. That is the one course of the 883 hours, I believe, in the combined program. That is the one course that's pre-recorded. So this is a perfect example where for me to be able to be present. They've got that course in place. It's got a variety of very well established teachers with a lot of background in each module that you'll be listening to. But in order to bring it up to academic standards, you have to add in those exams and those different qualities to bring it up to the WASC standards of education so that it's accredited for the master's degree as well as the therapeutic degree. So you've got both going on there.
And then you also have to bring up the person teaching it, that level of their degree to reach. Like in a college situation, you have to have an equivalent degree as the people that you're teaching. And so that's why typically, you know, you have a doctorate degree, and your doctorate degree is in
Education.
education. And so you have to have a degree like Dana has, to teach people in a master's program or a doctorate program. You have to have your doctorate degree. So currently, are you having to reestablish the faculty that's teaching the typical program at Soul of Yoga? Are you having to change out those faculty members to get them? They have to have at least a master's degree to teach your master's.
That's a really good question, Kim. Actually, they sort of do and they sort of don't. There'll be CIHS classes. Those are already in place through their integral health master's degree. Those already have professors with PhDs. For the yoga therapy program, these are people in some cases with years of experience, published authors who may or may not have a PhD. And that's where I come in. And my role is to, as faculty of record, to oversee that work and to make sure that it's of academic standards. So they don't necessarily have to, we don't have to change out our teachers who've had all their experience and all their years of knowledge, some of whom have been teaching this for over 30 years, but they just don't happen to have a master's degree. So it really is combining the best of both worlds.
Yeah, because as we all know, experience, you know, we all went to school, and then when you come out, you realize you really don't know anything until you get some experience under your belt, and really training with professionals bumps up your ability to really translate the information that you learned in school, which is imperative. And I think that's so many times this is what you see is in the yoga world, because I certify yoga healthcare professionals in yoga. So I'm with you. And I was a yoga teacher for 7 years before I even went into the healthcare, before I got my degrees. I've taught 12,000 yoga classes before I even went to PT school. So I was a professional yoga teacher. So I get it. I'm just saying, I've seen both worlds.
Yeah.
I've lived in them. What you'll see is in the yoga world is they really want East to meet West. They really want that. You know, they want the scientific, amazing world of medicine to meet Eastern philosophy, psychology, and experience, because they've really tested many of these movements through time. And they're always bringing them together. But what I find interesting is they leave the West out. They go very Eastern. They go very philosophical, very follow the masters and what the master said, but then they don't do the educational piece of the Western medicine. And that's what's upsetting the doctors and the PTs and preventing them from referring to them, is because, yeah, they want to bring them together, but they don't have the knowledge base of the Western to bring it together. It's a great idea, but I think the yoga world has to start embracing modern medicine and learning it. Not just going, okay, we'll leave that piece up to the medical doctors because they've really worked hard on it, or the PTs or the nurses, they've worked hard on it, let them give them that piece. And there's no bridge there. There's heavy East and heavy West. They know each other, but they won't refer to each other because the physicians, the medical piece is not educating themselves over here on the East, and the Eastern people are not necessarily educating them to the West. So that's just the conundrum that I've witnessed, because I've done a lot of both. And I find that it's really rare to meet someone like myself who's, you know, I'm getting, like yourself, like Dana, like you have gotten the hard science education on education. That's a hard science. You know, education has really evolved in the last 10 years. I've taken some education courses myself going, wow, we're really meeting people at a psychological level where we didn't used to. And then also training yourself on the East. You have done the work. So are you proposing that you're creating a foundation of just that, of bringing those two together? Do you see that as a missing piece?
Yes, that's exactly our hope, and that's exactly what we feel is needed, is that merger between the two. For example, in a yoga therapy program, you'll learn an incredible amount about anatomy and physiology. We're even um, offering a cadaver program, which is it's an option in this program, but it's really going to be able to show you a physical body. Doing it online is not quite the same as working with a real cadaver and seeing that musculature and the interconnectedness and all of that. So that is happening. But then at CIHS, as part of your master's, you'll be looking at quantitative and qualitative analysis. You'll learn how to become a researcher. In my program, I had to do 2 years of advanced to really be able to understand how to do a study, because ultimately the hope is that you can publish, you can do this work with clients, you can bring forward information that might help others. So that's what we're really hoping to do.
This is such a unique program, wouldn't you say? How many other programs in this country are like this?
One,
Is that the one in Maryland? Or
that is the one in Maryland, and they're
yeah.
similar to us in many ways. We're the only one on the West Coast. So yeah,
So is this going to be live or online? How much is?
it will actually be mostly online. It's very important to be able to make it so that people can be there from anywhere. And they will, a lot of the CIHS work, all of the CIHS work toward the program will be online. There will be synchronous time so that you will have the opportunity to connect and meet and learn from professionals, a wide variety of professionals, both professors and yoga practitioners, but you also have that ability to be in your own home. There will be some on-site training as well, and that's mostly for the yoga therapy program, because it's really hard to do yoga therapy without putting your hands on physical bodies and actually working with clients. And that's actually a part of the program too. There are practicums where you will work with clients. We aren't sending people out there who've never worked on a client. They have hours and hours of working one-on-one and sharing that knowledge with their mentors and professors and making sure that they're analyzing things properly and really helping people. So we have a free clinic for that too, which is beautiful.
So I'm in Santa Cruz right now. You're in the San Diego area. Um, we're both in California, but say I was taking these classes online, and I know just because I work at CIHS and all of the universities are doing this as well, is the online courses require a live Zoom, like we're doing right now, a Zoom class once a week. It's like 1 to 3 hours per week has to be face to face like this, or face to face via Zoom.
Right.
So it's not completely online. It is completely online, but it's not completely in front of a pre-recorded lecture. So
Exactly.
that's called like a hybrid. It's called a hybrid now. So
Right.
we're doing that. So say I'm in Santa Cruz, I'm going to take this hybrid class online, and then there would just be certain classes where I'd need to be in San Diego. Or would that be like a weekend or a week, a semester, or how are you guys planning on
That's
this?
a really good question. For the classes that require your physical presence, those are immersive classes and they tend to run for 5 to 10 days. So you'll come down, you'll stay with us, you'll do that intensive. You won't have to fly back and forth, which is just not possible. We do have people from the East Coast flying out for this, and it gets expensive. So you're able to do that. You just come in, you do your intensive, you do basically 60, 70, 80 hours of that course right then and there. You go home, maybe you do some follow-up later if and as needed, depending on the course, but you are not flying out every weekend.
Here's like a practical question. Who do you pay? Are you paying CIHS? Are you paying Soul of Yoga, or how's that work?
Yes.
Oh, everybody gets paid.
we've got a joint program, and it's collaboratively organized. So no matter which course you're taking, it'll all work out and go toward your master's.
So you'll just pay one lump sum to.
You can, or you can pay as you go.
Oh, okay. So you have like payment programs that people can get on. Those are always great. That's the way I got.
Yeah,
In the 90s, that's the way I got certified with yoga. I had 2 little kids. There's no way I could afford that.
exactly.
But when I
Yeah,
paid monthly, it was like $150 a month. It was like, well, okay, I can afford. So,
right.
hey, this is an idea. Is because it's CIHS, it's a college, so you can get student loans, can't you?
Absolutely. You can get loans,
Woohoo!
you can apply for grants, you can have payment plans. And we also have a time. So you have an, even though the program is basically maybe 2.5 year program, most people don't complete in 2 years. Some complete in 3, but you have 5. So you can still be matriculated and earning, you're still in the program, but take a step back when you need to, so that you can save up money for the next phase or whatever you need to do.
But the student loans is huge, because in a regular yoga program, you can forget student loans. There aren't any
Right?
student loans. It's not academic. So it's out of pocket, period, end of story. So student loans have saved my life. I have 5 degrees. All of them are built on student loans.
Right?
I will be paying student loans till the day I die. I've just like surrendered to that. Okay, I'll just pay them till I'm dead.
Well, there's that, but there's also, given the nature of the way things have transitioned in the world and how important healthcare is increasingly as we continue our way through the world, there is the possibility, I can't guarantee it, it's hard to say, but loan forgiveness is a real thing for people who are out there making a real difference. So that would be something worth looking at.
Absolutely. That's especially if you can work in the inner cities and things like that. There's all kinds of loan forgiveness programs, or also if you work for a nonprofit.
Exactly.
For 10 years, if you make your payments for 10 years, they'll forgive it at the end of the 10 years. That may be an option for me.
It's never too late.
And all the hundreds of thousands of people just like me. So yeah, so this is, do you foresee this becoming more of the norm? I know you're working really hard on this, and this is not easy to do, to get a yoga program immersed into the academic world. When you finish, when this is complete, which is very, very soon. Yeah. How soon is it? It's going to be soon.
Yes.
Okay. So, this is happening. There's 2 programs in the whole United States. Do you foresee the rest of academia following your example?
I believe increasingly that's the direction we need to go into. We're working more and more across the curriculum in so many different fields, and I think it's beautiful. So I'm happy to cut the mold and have it followed. It's all about just helping more people, making it different.
And remember, the people who do it first are usually really good at it. Look at Coca-Cola, and then because they're the cornerstone. They've worked so hard at it, and they're building and building and building, and then the others are going to follow along, but they're going to have to follow your examples and build to the level that you've already spent. I'm sure you've already spent a year or so on that. How long have you been working on this?
I've been working on it personally, maybe half a year, a little more than half a year, but the program has been in gestation for well over a year.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure it's been in people's minds for the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
So it takes that long to put programs together. So you'll probably be a lone soldier there for a while, for many years, until the rest of academia catches up. But I really do see this as the way of the future. It has to be, honestly, it has to be to have safe patient care. And that's what we're about. Do no harm, do no harm, do no harm. And the reason I went to PT school was exactly what you're talking about right there, because I went through the yoga program and I was working with people privately, and I didn't know if I was hurting them or helping them. Because when you work with people privately, they all have injuries. You can guarantee it. They've got back pain, shoulder pain, they've got a motorcycle accident. It's endless, but every single person you meet over 40 has some kind of injury. And they're coming to you going, I really want to work with my shoulder. And you're like, I'm going to guess, and I think this would work really well. The beauty of yoga is it's been honed through the centuries to be very good at what it does. And I could randomly choose things and I could get results from it. And that was so inspiring for me to watch these people, this injured people, get better. But I felt a huge responsibility that I didn't know what I was doing. So I was randomly picking things going, whoa, that worked. That's nice. Okay, that can't really continue. If you're going to, patient care is not random. So I went to, like an idiot, I was like, oh, I'll just go to PT school and then I'll get all the answers. Well, they don't give you all the answers either, but at least it gives you an amazing foundation to, now I know why I choose what for that shoulder. But it was the scientific education that, it was the Western education I was missing to help me be able to decide and diagnose. Now I have diagnostic skills, and I can think through and troubleshoot those issues. And so that gets you to the level of do no harm. That gets you to the level of, also gets you to the level of physician referrals. And
Absolutely.
that's the other problem, is you've got the yoga world over here and they're not getting referred to. But I work with the doctors and they're like, I'm not referring to a yoga teacher. They won't do it. They're actually getting, because I work in that world, they are telling me I will not refer to a yoga teacher. I'm like, why? It's so great. And they're like, because they're coming back to me injured. I sent them out to yoga. They came back with a shoulder injury. They came back with a hamstring strain. They came back with, I'm just not doing it anymore.
Well,
And
that's
that's
exactly,
a shame.
it is. And that's exactly why it's important to have yoga teachers who are trained more than just the 200 hours. And it's also important for me to clarify that we do not present ourselves as physicians. We very clearly do not make nutritional changes or medical changes. We always recommend that you check with your doctor before you begin this or any other program. But we also have this other side where we can look into not just the shoulder as a shoulder, but to look at the energetics. Is it on the left side of the body, the feminine side? Is it on the right side, the masculine side? Does it speak to your feeling not supported in life? So we can look a little bit beyond and also refer to that medical doctor if and as we need to.
There's a huge cycle. We know this for a fact in the Western world, is there's a huge psychological component to pain. So you're addressing that, and yoga always was addressing that side of it. That's why it has such a pull. For those of us that know it in the medical, it's like, wow, you're getting a double, you're getting the psychological and the physical done simultaneously, all these mindful exercises like yoga and Tai Chi and things like that. Where do people go to find you?
Well, they can find us through either one of our institutions. One is Soul of Yoga, and that's SOUL of yoga.com. We're in Encinitas, California. Or they can go to the California Institute for Human Science, which is the college that's generating the actual master's degree, also located in Encinitas. They're very close together, which is part of the ability to collaborate well. So either of those. You can also reach out to me, Dana, D-A-N-A, at soulofyoga.com, or at CIHS as DANA_REECE at CIHS.edu.
Excellent. So how excited are you about this program?
I am tremendously excited. I'm beyond grateful and excited more than anything, just because we can help make a difference and merge these that need to be talking to each other.
This is really, I'm excited talking to you, just hearing about this, because this is so needed for the health of, I'm working with you don't realize the patient population, they're so injured, they're so psychologically damaged. We all are, all of us are psychologically damaged. If you've lived on this planet, you've got it, you're born into it, you're raised
Very
and then we're physically sedentary, coupled together. We're in trouble.
Well, that's exactly to the point of integral health. The master's is an integral health. That means it's not just one way of looking at things. So it really is just perfectly merged with a program like this, where you look at things from a variety of angles, because we are a physical, a mental, and a spiritual being. We are not just a body on a stretcher that's sick. We are also a mind and a body of energy, and all of those need to be addressed.
You are going to be so welcomed into the healthcare system, and your students that you're nurturing are going to be so welcomed. The healthcare system is primed for this. They are teaching in the medical schools. Now they're teaching the physicians alternatives to, they have whole departments at Harvard, at Stanford. All their medical students are going through lifestyle medicine, it's called. And lifestyle medicine is a nice way of saying exactly what you're talking about. Like, you've got to change your lifestyle. Food, it's all at food, sleep, exercise, holistic medicine, meditation. We have huge amounts of research now in Western medicine from Harvard on meditation, because we can do functional MRIs now on the brain.
Right.
We can see exactly the physiological changes that happen when people meditate or when they practice yoga, and it's amazing. And now it's being taught to the physicians. But here's the crisis for the physicians. Now what do? We've got we've got this information. We know this works. Where do we refer? Well, how do we get this to our patients? Because they have spent their lifetime, and as they should, on heart surgery, or that's their thing. That's their piece. They've got to do surgery all day. They're not there to teach meditation. But they're at a point to where they're ready to couple. They've seen the evidence. They're ready to couple with your students. But again, they need a degree,
Yeah.
or they just can't trust just anybody. So, man, you are delivering a product that is so ready.
We're really excited. I envision staff personnel with a degree like this who actually literally work in hospitals. At this point, we already are learning that we've got service dogs coming into hospitals because people are recognizing the importance of animals and touch. And we also have Touch for Health coming increasingly into hospitals. It's not questioned that people know it works. So this is really the logical next step.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super excited too. Absolutely.
I'm really excited that you talked to me, and I'd love to talk to you more. So maybe we'll do another one.
Sounds wonderful.
Another interview, because it's just we're so primed and so ready for this. And I know you've put in a lot of work, and this is not an easy thing to do, to put together programs like this. So I so honor and respect and love what you're doing. I just want to support you in any way that I can.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. We'll talk soon.
It's been my pleasure. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Dana.